Lá mór a bhí an ar a gcéad lá ára lá na féile bríide lá tú san aire. Nuair a tháinig tú go Ros Mhíl agus nuair a dógar tú go raibh gceist a go cead a thuairt go raibh le céimh le forbairt an céimh dámhara Ros Mhíl. Mar is óid rihan an ceaptánál amach an bhliain se thugaing. Agus í ceiste tamsartin na kindle and kina to junta o Quinn. What I'm asking is, you made a big announcement on the 1st of February. Obviously, it's now in the hand of officials, and the question asks what progress has been made by the department in actually progressing this project since.
Thank you very much. And just first of all, Deputy Ó Cuív, to acknowledge your advocacy on behalf of this project over the years and since I became Minister, in terms of seeking to have it driven on and delivered upon. It's going back a long time, to the early 2000s. Indeed, former Minister Frank Fahy would have been Minister for the Marine at the time it was initiated, there's been many twists and turns since that, but I know you have been absolutely central to actually pushing this forward and ensuring that we actually can deliver upon it, and I know our government colleagues as well have been strong advocates of it, as Senator Kane, Senator Crowe, Senator O'Reilly as well. So listen, to update in terms of where it's at, Deputy, first of all, as you know, the project will deliver over 70% greater depth to accommodate larger fishing vessels, and also 200 metres of quayside, additional quayside. So in terms of where it's at the moment, on the 4th of February, my department published a tender for consultancy services. That's to cover, to complete the detailed design, to manage the tender process for construction works, also to supervise the construction works, and also in due course handover of completed construction works back to my department. That tender competition closed on the 10th of March. My department has been assessing the completed assessment of tenders. On the 24th of March, the successful and unsuccessful tenders were notified, and the process is currently in the standstill period required under public procurement policy following on from that. Securing this consultancy service is a necessary precursor then in line with Public Works the contract. While I cannot currently specify when construction works will begin, my department is working to ensure that all planning conditions will be met. Our fishery harbour centres, as we know, Deputy Ó Cuív, are critical to the seafood industry, and Ros Mhíl is a clear example of how these facilities stimulate economic activity for the surrounding rural coastal communities. So the potential as well for downstream development and jobs has been acknowledged by my Cabinet colleagues, including Minister for Culture, Arts, Gaeltacht and Media, Catherine Martin, and the Minister for State Gaeltacht and Sport, Jack Chambers, as well. And the project is further evidence as well of the Government's commitment to addressing the impacts of Brexit, Deputy Ó Cuív. Thanks.
That's great progress. I understand the processes that have to be gone through, and you have to go through those, so that's accepted, and I'm very pleased that now, at the end of March, we've actually got a successful tender, and please God that next process will go smoothly. I understand there are two elements in this. One is the dredging element, and the other is the actual building of the harbour wall. I understand that for the dredging there is no design issues and that could go forward immediately, whereas the actual construction of the pier will require detailed design and so on. So my question to you is, will it be let off in two tenders now? One for dredging, which could go ahead immediately, and then one for, when the design is developed, for design and actual construction of the pier? Because if even the dredging could be got off, it would absolutely put our minds to rest, because I understand it's part of planning. It would put our minds to rest that we were within the planning period, and if necessary an extension of time based on substantial works being carried out would be available.
I can't answer that here now, Deputy Cuív, but I certainly will consider the points you've made and come back to you directly. And any other ideas or views you have in relation to the project in terms of how we approach it, I'd be very happy to engage with you on it. Listen, it was a tremendous day to be down there, to see the spirit in the local community, to meet with all of those who've driven it and advocated for this project for so long. I think it's a tremendous natural resource in terms of the location of the pier. It has tremendous potential for the years ahead, and the government are really committed to actually driving projects like this forward and making them happen. And our absolute commitment here is to make that happen. We understand the importance of doing that quickly to move it through the process, and we'll absolutely ensure that that happens, and certainly working with yourself, Deputy Cuív, who you've been absolutely central to making this happen, and also, as I say, with our government colleagues, party colleague Senator Crowe, government colleagues Minister Naughton, Senator Kane and Senator Riley. We as a government intend to deliver this and make sure that it is a resource and an asset for the people of Galway and Connemara in particular for decades to come.
Minister, I think the vision we all have of Rossaville is a multi-use port. And you saw for yourself the fantastic space around it that's probably incomparable to any other port in the country. There's a lot of land and state ownership in a very secluded area there at the port. And the vision we'd have is leisure, which is in the inner harbour, the ferry boats who, use it to great effect, bringing cargo out of the islands, and certain types of cargo go from there. The main cargo goes from Galway, as well as the major issue of fishing, which is the primary purpose of the port, and of course the big new coming industry, and that is the whole renewable energy. And as you know, if we get our act together, the West Coast could actually catch up with the East Coast in terms of wind generation, particularly off the coast of Galway at the Sky of the Rocks. And there will be no knowing how much berthage they will need on the mainland. So presumably, in all of the consideration of this, the development of that port in this holistic way, in all its elements, are very much forward to the department and not just the narrow fishing.
McLaughlin, Deputy Cuív. So, absolutely, the potential here is there's potential on a number of fronts. The central objective and rationale behind the port is fisheries, and making sure that Rossaville can thrive again and grow again from a fisheries perspective, and that's the key rationale. But also, we have to look at how we can leverage that for existing industries and for the years ahead. And you're absolutely right, Deputy Cuív, in relation to as a state and as a government, the importance of planning ahead for the transformation that we're going to see in relation to renewable energy in the years ahead, and making sure that we as a country benefit from that we become a net energy exporter in the years ahead. But central to that now is planning in terms of putting the infrastructure in place. So Rossaville certainly has potential to make a significant contribution, and for that industry potentially to make significant contribution to Rossaville and to the county of Galway, and indeed to the West Coast in the years ahead as well. And I want to recognise the work that was done with the Oireachtas under the stewardship of Michael Heaney and his team in relation to the report they put together, looking at the potential of that, and also the support of Minister of State Jack Chambers in terms of this project. But overall, the key objective here is fisheries, driving that on, but also then looking to see how we can maximise its impact for the economic and employment potential in Connemara, West Galway and the West Coast over the years ahead. Thanks.